Greetings, my beloved Black people. Welcome back to the plight and struggle of Black people in America. Today, we're going to be discussing various aspects of hip hop, the past of it, the present of it, even the future of it. And also today, we're continuing our Sunday Prominent Black People series, and we have a very special guest today, Brother Lerone Armstrong, born and raised Dallas, Texas. Brother Lerone, how you feeling, sir? How you doing? Can you hear me? Because I can't hear you. It seems like maybe you can't hear me. Is your mic on? Check your mic.
What up? How's it going?
Okay, I got you now. Yeah, how you doing,
I'm fine,
brother?
Rizzo. How are you?
I'm
Like
good. I'm good.
doing fine.
That's a
Like,
good thing. Yeah. Introduce
yes,
yourself
sir.
to the viewers.
I'm doing
Tell
fine.
us.
I hear you well.
Okay, tell us who you are. Tell everybody else
Mike
who you
should
are.
be.
Can you hear me now?
Um, Lerone Armstrong, um, born and raised. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Lerone Armstrong. Lerone Armstrong, born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I'm the seventh sibling of eight. I am an artist, and I would say it's what you would call a multiple interdisciplinary artist, which means I do a lot of things. Um, I've lived other places, but Dallas is my home. Attended Alexander Johnson Elementary School, attended Alvin Wendell Holmes, slash spent time at Roosevelt, but transferred, finished up at a school called Sunset High School. Went on, attended El Centro College, and graduated from UTD um, back in the 90s. So that's a little bit about me, and I've worked for various corporations, doing various things. I've been a teacher, soccer coach. As far as the art world goes, I produced my first film back in 1991. It took a while to do it. We actually had it completed in 91, but we didn't release any of it till 1993 on limited video, which I did independently. And a lot of people still hadn't seen it. And that was called Across the Bridge. Prior to that, I'd been in plays. I played various instruments. I did my own fashion show, created my own fashion show as a independent organizer. I got the models and the designers to produce my first fashion show when I was barely 20 years old at the old Holiday Inn downtown. So, I'm just kind of like one of those artists. Like I said, I'm a multidisciplinary artist, and I just try to
Absolutely.
do what I do.
Okay, well.
Always in the spirit of the ancestors, because I stand on big shoulders. When I
Absolutely.
say the spirit of the Garveys, the Grants, the Malcolms, I ride on all of that. Amos Wilson, you know, all those greats, Francis Cress Wilson, John Henry Clark. So I'm from that school of thought, but as an artist.
That's a great thing, I say. So, in your words, what would you say hip hop is, and what would you say is the status of hip hop?
Hip hop originally, aka rap, but aka evolved to hip hop, uh, was a was a very huge undertaking for people in New York, South Bronx. Back, I would say, as far as getting out to the mainstream Black America, it didn't hit most of us till 1979, 1980. But in the early 70s, they were doing hip hop on the corners. They just weren't calling it that. You know, Cool Hurt and some of these other, the Grandmaster Flashes, uh, DJ, what Grandmaster Cav, all these guys in New York, they were doing that. Me myself, I didn't get into it until like late 1979. First hip hop record I heard before Sugar Hill Gang, and a lot of people they never give this information. The first hip hop record on wax that I heard was by a funk R&B band called the Fatback Band. It featured Ted Washington rapping, Tim Washington rapping. It was called
Okay.
The Voice of King Tim III, and that came out 1979. It was released before Sugar Hill Gang did Rapper's Delight. So that's my introduction to hip hop. But when you,
Well,
I guess if I had to conceptualize it and say what it is, hip hop is a continuation of blues, jazz, rock and roll, and all the other black forms of music created by black people with a raw experience related from the youth, because hip hop always came from the youth.
okay.
So
Well, that's
it's
interesting because
changed a lot since its inception.
let me speak to that Sugar Hill Gang. That was my first uh, hip hop group that I ever heard of. The one you mentioned before them, I hadn't heard of them, and I'm a little older than you, so you're a little more advanced than me. But I noticed you said something about it wasn't called hip hop. Was it even called rap yet?
They were calling it rapping. They were calling it rapping from the introduction. Now, Cowboy
Oh,
from a group called Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, the late Cowboy, may he rest in peace. He coined the term hip hop. You know,
you know
he
what year
came
that
up
might
with
have
this. Oh,
been?
this is hip hop. If you hear-
I'm,
Sir,
I mean, did you notice the year of the coining of hip hop by that brother that you mentioned?
he coined. I mean, he coined that it had to be like I'm gonna say 1980, 81. Right? It had to be right when Sugar Hill was in the hip hop. They put that in the lyrics, but he had coined it. I would say somewhere right after that song, because he was with Grandmaster Flash, and they came out with the message, which was the first political song in terms of popularity, in terms of
And
hip
it was
hop.
actually called
So I
rap
would
when it
say
first came
I
out.
would, and in your
That
area,
are you saying it was first
to
called
my
rap when it
to my
first came
knowledge, they
out?
were rapping.
What was it called?
I'm saying that they were rapping.
Oh, but
I'm gonna say rapping
okay,
because
so they were probably
cowboy that term
categorizing.
hip hop didn't take up on it didn't get called hip hop. Huh?
No, I'm just listening
Say it
at this
again.
point. I'm just listening at this point. It must be some retro sound going on
Oh,
because I. Mhm.
okay, because hip hop. I mean, again, Cowboy Corner, and that had to be like 1980 or 81.
Mhm.
You know, because even you don't stop when Blondie, even when the punk rock group Blondie did Rapture, which
Mhm.
which was supposed to feature Grandmaster Flash in it, but he couldn't do it, so they got the artist Basquiat, the Haitian Afro Haitian Puerto Rican brother that was the artist. He filled in
Mhm.
Grandmaster Flash's space because he couldn't be in the video. And even Blondie said, "And don't stop" to hip hop. So that was like 19, what, 81, 80. So they got
Mhm.
coined previously by Cowboy, who was with Grandmaster Flash. So prior to that, in the Sugar Hill Gang, kind of, I guess, they cited it in the lyrics of a hip hop when they did Rappers Delight. But if you're going to
Right.
talk
Right.
about the prototype for hip hop, we go back to the great Louis Jordan. Louis Jordan in 1941 had a song called "You Gotta Have the Beat." And "You
Mhm.
Gotta Have the Beat" is the oldest form of hip hop I've heard in terms of what we would call hip hop today. You
Right.
know,
Right.
there were gospel people putting words together. There's a gospel group I can't think of right now, but they did a song telling a Bible story, but they were just putting words together. But in terms, the
Mhm.
closest thing I've heard in terms of the prototype, Louis Jordan, the great Louis Jordan, did a song called "You Gotta Have the Beat" in 1941. And if you watch that song, you hearing prehistoric hip hop, we may call it. Or if you
Right.
go and listen
Right.
to Pig Meat Markham, Here Come the Judge. Here Come the Judge,
Oh
Pig Meat
yeah,
Markham,
I
which
heard
came out in
that.
1968. The beat,
Didn't
the
what's
funky
that guy
drummer
name?
beat on that.
Mhm. Flip Wilson, didn't he redo something about Here Come the
Who
Judge? Flip Wilson? Or was that someone else? Seemed like it brought my
he
mind.
redid that for Pig Meat Markham.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought I had heard
he
something.
but Pig Meat, the song is actually about Pig. Yeah, the comedian Pig Meat Markham did. Here Come the Judge, and that's actually comical, but it's hip hop. I mean, it's more on the
Anyway.
Biz Markie style, but it's hip hop. It could be considered
Right.
prehistoric or prototype hip hop from
Right.
1968. And then some people
Right.
would say like Gil Scott Heron, H. Rap Brown, but they were talking politics. I wouldn't consider uh, Gil Scott Heron hip hop. I would consider that more like advanced revolutionary poetry. But there are
I was
elements of hip
thinking.
hop that were taken, elements of that were put in hip hop, elements of that
Right.
were put in hip hop. But I won't say
Mm.
like the last poets. That's not hip hop. That's poetry. But people took
Right.
conscious people in hip hop took those elements and put them in hip hop. Yeah,
Mm. So
I don't
the
know if that's
conscious
making
people in
sense to
hip
you.
hop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The conscious people in hip hop.
No,
Where are they? I'm sorry. You ready?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. The conscious
Yeah, I'm
people in
ready.
hip.
Can,
Okay. The conscious people in hip hop. Where are they now? I mean, as far as the current hip hop, which artists would you say are those artists now? The conscious hip hop artists. Who are they today? Do they exist today?
yeah, I mean they're very limited, and I would say there's probably an underground conscious movement of hip hop artists that you'll never hear because mainstream don't want you to hear them. The white people that control radio airwaves, they don't want you to hear those people. But I would say the closest thing you have now is probably J. Cole's, Kendrick Lamar, and this guy named Joey Badass. As far as conscientious hip hop that's thought provoking, that's about
Right.
the most I've heard. Is those three guys right there. Now
Less
that's
than
not to say
five.
this might be somebody else that.
Right.
Oh yeah,
That
some guy named
underground.
Toby. I'm sorry, a guy from out of Houston. Toby.
Okay.
Yeah, Toby. Toby from out of Houston. He's pretty conscious. But I mean that's about far they know more about 4 or 5 of them. And
What
they
about
don't
the
get
numbers
regular
for the
airplay anymore, even Kendrick Lamar.
right? What about the raunchy rappers? How many are those? You think? Is it
Oh,
well?
that's we're oversaturated with food nigga dog hip hop. We're oversaturated with that. And the only reason
You
why I
said
say food
oversaturated.
nigga dog hip hop is
Mm.
because food nigga dog hip hop, or what we call gangster rap. We're oversaturated with that by design. That's what people want you to hear. That keeps your youth and even
By
people that are
whose
older than
design?
you in a certain type of mindset.
You said it's by design. By whose design?
By whose design?
Yeah.
In the words of Neely Fuller, the white supremacists who control this hip hop paradigm. So I
Okay.
would by the people that's not say all white people, but the white people that have control and power that run this, they keep that
This
going.
institution apparently.
You know,
Yeah. Okay. So,
yeah,
uh,
and it affects, but it affects different youth different ways. And from white, and I grew up in middle class America, or upper class America, I can listen to somebody like NBA YoungBoy and laugh at it because
mm,
that's not my reality, and it's not gonna be my reality. So I
mm,
can listen to it and see it as purely entertainment. But for a black child that's growing up in a black urban neighborhood, or what some people might call a hood, or for what some people might call economically underfunded community,
like
it's
the
gonna have
ghetto.
detrimental consequences because
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna imitate that or ghetto. He gonna imitate that because
Mm-hmm.
he actually that because of the mind not being fully developed. One reason, and the other reason there's no knowledge of self in his household or in that
Mm-hmm.
community that's over
Mm-hmm.
flourishing. So food nigga dog culture is gonna hit pop. It's gonna ride because that's what he's gonna hear constantly. Shoot that in the street. Those are the B's and H's.
Mm-hmm.
F that mother. It's gonna be just downtrodden music, and so that's gonna
Wow.
have influence. And that's what
Unfortunately.
you're hearing by popular demand right now.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So you say
or
it's by
material
design.
worship. It's kind of like Umar Johnson. It's by design, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I don't take when I've heard stuff from other people. I give them their credit. I don't take credit from anyone. I acknowledge them. I heard Umar Johnson. He said there are five things that you hear in all carrying hip hop today, and it's
Mm-hmm.
destroying us. Material worship, go to jail or prison, smoke drugs or sell drugs, disrespect black women, and then just don't do it and then hustle. Something to that nature. He was
Right.
very accurate. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. So,
So I
since it's by design and it's having major impact, negative impact, unfortunately, uh, what's the solution? What's the answer to fix this problem?
that's a good question. If a solution was just that instantaneous or just that quick to come up with, it would have been fixed. Uh,
Well, I
I
feel
think
you.
it takes the we have to go, we have to go back to the old ways. We have to go back to what people are calling old school. Old
Mm-hmm.
school worked. Uh, First of all, I want when I say that I want to prove it. Even with hip hop, if you look
Mm-hmm.
at hip hop early on, hardly anybody cursed.
Oh,
That wouldn't
absolutely, you're
manifest it
right.
until you get to no. We had wordsmiths, we had wordologists, Eric B. and
Right.
Rakim, Carriers One. We had people that even if you go before that to Kumo D, Treacherous Three. Those guys could use words. Curtis Blow. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so uh, point in case, hip hop 101, old school. It had values. It had morals. Even if they were talking about coming up, they were talking about doing it legal ways. It's not until you get into the NWA era, and I respect and I love Ice Cube, and I love what he became when he broke away from NWA. But
Mm-hmm.
that helped proliferate what we have now, if I be honest. And that's part of old school too. So, but the only thing about old school hip hop, you have more diversity. You could listen to NWA, but you also have Public Enemy, Poor Righteous Teachers, Brand Nubian, Tribe Called Quest. So you had a variety of consciousness, always Arrested Development, X Clan, always in our music. Is when you get saturated with an abundance of self-destructive music, that's when you get the imbalance, and it starts to go like this. What the people that run the system or run control hip hop, they knew this, they saw this, and they continued to orchestrate, and they had black people go along with it. Because this couldn't happen, even if we talk about the people that run the system. None of this
Mm-hmm.
could happen without certain black people being partakers of it. So I have to say, we participated, some of us
Mm-hmm.
participated in our own destruction, our own demise for material worship, money worship.
And
Who's on the
unfortunately,
money? In God we trust. In God we trust, but who's on the money? It don't say Jesus, don't say Yahshua. It says who's on the money? That's your God. And the
mm,
last time I looked, there was only one type of person on the money. So when you
mm,
say I kill for this money, subconsciously, indirectly, in some cases directly, what are you really saying? We have to think deeper. Like
yeah.
KRS-One said, this is my philosophy. Philosophically speaking,
Well,
brothers
a
like K
good
Rio
friend,
don't get played on the radio.
it's
Sir?
interesting. Well, a good friend of mine that has a podcast, The Switch Within, author Eric Johnson, he just did a show called Murder Music. And it's about like different language
Okay.
they're using. And it's like when they talk about
Yeah.
slide and some other stuff, it's all about killing, killing, killing. And then unfortunately, like what you're displaying, the killing is black on black. But this is what I know when you said about the cussing in the rap songs. Okay, the first time I ever heard
Hmm.
cussing in rap songs was probably about 79, but it wasn't on the radio. You see what I'm saying? Now, I went to trade schools, but I have a good friend I grew up with that went to college. He went to Lincoln University, as a matter of fact. And after his first year there, meeting people and they doing different things, and he come back home, had those cassettes actually at that time, and it had rap, and it would be beats we were familiar with, but like you said, they threw the cussing in. But when they threw the cussing in, it's like 79, but it wasn't in on radio because supposedly that was
Right.
illegal against the law. But then I guess when they got a whiff of the fact that hey, they cussing in it, and yeah, cussing more and more, then they start allowing more and more of it be played on the radio. So like you said about it's not accidental, that's proof that is definitely not accidental because those rappers don't have the authority or the power to decide what's played on the airwaves. You see? So yeah, it's unfortunate, but we're
No,
a target forevermore. As long as we know it and deal with it properly, we definitely can handle it. If we handle chattel slavery, we can handle whatever it takes. Cause we some great, great people. That's what I'll say. Yeah.
I mean, and I agree. I have to say, I think you start seeing those advice for explicit lyrics on NWA records, and then you saw them on Luther Campbell. Luther Campbell music didn't advocate black people killing each other though. I've had this
Right.
conversation with other people. I say his music, we looked at his music as like fun hip hop because he was just talking about the girls shaking it. And it was exploitive in a sense, but I don't remember him calling them B's and A's.
I don't recall either, to tell you the truth. I remember the music though, but I don't remember the lyrics a
And if
lot.
he
But
did say that, I don't do us. Yeah, he didn't I think the cameras fell off. Oh, okay, there we go.
I can see
So
you.
Luther Campbell and
Okay.
those I remember seeing those things on explicitly, but he was also one of the first superstars of hip hop. You know, it's interesting. A lot of people don't bring this up, but also when you talk about hip hop, you gotta talk about, in your area, you from Philadelphia. The one of
Yes.
the first so-called gangster rappers come out of your area. His name was Schoolie D. You
I
familiar with
never heard
Schoolie
of
D?
them. No, I never heard of them.
Well,
See,
I won't get it. Well, look him up. I won't get into him that much, but he
okay,
was the first. He was the first gangster rapper. He was doing it before the
okay.
people in L.A. He influenced the
I'm
people
definitely
in
have to
L.A.
look him
He
up.
influenced. Yeah. Look up
See,
Schoolie D, man.
I'm definitely gonna look him up. And see, that's why I love my life so
Yeah.
much because I was born and raised in the ghetto of North Philly. And then I just thought
Okay.
recently, because I don't dwell on me a lot. I make kind of like a interesting example of a young black fella born and raised in the ghetto, young as a five. And I mean, I've never been to prison. I've never been to the military. Made it to Texas. Uh,
Right.
Work, retired, don't have to work anymore, get a pension. So life been good. So I've been fortunate, and
Right.
I don't know why I've been blessed so much, but I do like to give and I love people. So maybe I haven't reached my purpose yet, and it's yet to come. That's what I'm hopeful for.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
and
I think you're doing your purpose. You this is part of your purpose. What you're giving by having shows like this that you're not going to hear on regular radio. You're not going to be on Vlad,
yeah,
disrespecting
yeah.
and talking about
I heard something about
black
that.
people
I
and
was
using the N word.
yes,
Yeah, I'm
unfortunate.
not.
Like,
I'm not. I mean,
mhm,
and I salute him on. He's an entrepreneur making his money, but I'm not going
right,
to be
right,
on there referring to black people as N words. I
right.
just I can't do. That's against my moral code. That ain't.
And,
But
and
I'm gonna say
mainstream
that.
love that.
I think yeah,
Yeah,
this is a great show, a great format
yeah,
that you have. I appreciate you
yeah.
bringing me on here, and I wanted to get in. It's just sad to what hip hop has become, man. It's almost like it's I don't even I was once a hip hop head. I don't know
Mm-hmm,
if I would qualify as a hip hop head anymore because hip hop
mm-hmm.
is also a youthful form of music. But the only thing about it, it's going lower and lower and that's bringing the youth lower and lower. So it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
offer the balance that it once did, man. Cause I listen to Heavy D and the Boys, you
Oh
know,
yeah, yeah,
I could
yeah.
listen to yeah, I could
It
listen
was
to Kid and Play.
motivational.
You don't even
Mm-hmm.
have diversity in hip hop no more.
Nah,
The
it's
Fugees, you
sad,
don't even
sad.
have that no more, man.
Nah,
You know,
nah. And then
so it's
sadly,
a
I've
travesty.
even seen some R&B where the music be so good and the lyrics talking about love, and then even in that genre they throwing the N word in, and I don't get it. It's like, why do we have to call ourselves that all the time? At all, actually, but I mean, it's like all the time, every genre, TV, radio, music, this, that. and we're doing it like what you spoke on. Some of us for a few dollars, it's like that's the reason because of the money. But like you say too, okay, the ones doing it for the money is one part of it, but the ones paying the money is part of the problem. But nobody seems to be going after those people. You see, the ones paying these artists. So we need to go after them because, like, if a hitman hire a guy to kill somebody, if he get caught, the hirer get the prison too, right? Because he's just as guilty as the shooter. Isn't that true? So if they
That's
paying
true.
our people to hurt us and it's working, they're just as guilty as our people. I suspect somebody might say our people is more guilty because we should know better, but we went through things and it's not a justification of anything. But if you go through chattel slavery for hundreds of years, it's going to have a major impact on you. And we haven't been out of it as long as we have been in it, you see. So I look at us and I
Yeah.
say, like the brothers say, we're a miracle, actually. Black people, we're special.
Well, we are in a special position, and I think,
Mm,
but
I
I
like
don't know
that.
how long we can continue. I I don't know how long we can continue to to use that as any type of excusatory reason. Here's why I say what I'm saying. You can use the slavery experience to empower you, or you can use it to keep you down
Mm-hmm,
subconsciously.
mm-hmm,
It's your choice. The empowerment comes when you start to learn and you know your history, you read a lot, you do your research, you travel. That's empowering.
mm-hmm.
When you accept that your history begins with slavery, you already at a disadvantage because your slavery interrupted your history. Black people's history
Portion.
begins before and prior to
Thousands,
slavery.
thousands of
So
years.
therefore, if only you're focusing on slavery, if you only focusing on that, then you're gonna get eternal slaves. You have to focus on the interruption of slavery, but what prior to slavery, before you were enslaved, your greatness. That's one way to help you get out of this thing. Another thing is this: a lot of people got bad habits, man, and they got to give them up or they got to be broken. I mean, it's one thing for me to say Black Lives Matter, and I'm a rapper, and then I turn around and talk about killing N words in my music. The hypocrisy of that.
Yeah, that's
Listen,
definitely hypocrisy
I'm
for
from
sure.
someone that's not black.
Mm-hmm,
I'm from someone that's not black, and I'm looking at that. I'm seeing this famous rapper or rappers with Black Lives Matter T-shirt. Black, stop killing us. But then I turn around and I listen to your music, and you're leading the army line saying, "Shoot them ends, shoot them motherfuckers, shoot them fast, shoot that nigga in the gap." You know, you saying that, and then you got the
mm-hmm.
nerve to say this. Come on, brother. That's what is that? Cognitive dissonance? You're sick. That's
Well, but
hypocrisy
see,
at its
check this
best.
out though. Sadly, some of those same people you're talking about, see, you know, a lot of time in the black community, when we talk about sellouts, we usually think of what politicians or business people. But see, those same rappers, some of those rappers are being paid to do that purposely. So that's selling out, I believe. So we got sellouts in every
Yeah, it
genre,
is.
unfortunately. And so for the money,
Yeah.
we got people in every genre and in every level they can find that will take the job for the money, for the right price. Unfortunately, that's the world we in. You know what I'm saying? So the blacks
Yes,
of us
sir.
that know that, we have to get together and do better for the rest of us that's willing. Because I definitely believe this. It's not the majority of our black rappers or people, as far as numerically, that's bad. I think most black people are good, but there's a pocket of us that are not. So I don't think that we have more bad than good, but I know this. If you have only bad things being put forth in front of a people and nothing good to combat it, how can you beat it if you don't fight it, if you don't challenge it? You see? So I definitely believe, definitely numerically, black people in America, we have far more good people than bad people. No question. So the good people just got to come together and stop tolerating stuff and handle the business, and we can do it. And we on our way, and we gonna do it. That's what I believe for sure.
Well, I think that's very encouraging. I think it's very idealistic. Now, is that reality? First of
For me,
all, I'm more of the I'm more of the mindset of a Mr. Neely Fuller, and I have to be honest with this. I don't think
always.
this coming together. I don't think the coming together is necessarily going to do anything, and I'm gonna tell you why. And I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm just saying
Okay.
we come together for church. We come together for
Yeah,
parties.
that's
We
different.
come together
Those
for
are different.
concerts. We come. There are all instances of black folks come together,
Right,
and
right.
normally when we come together, it don't work because it's not like-minded black people. I'm not Elijah Muhammad, brother. I can't reform, and I love Minister Farrakhan. Like Minister Farrakhan said, uh, white people made God made human beings, men and women. White
Hmm.
people made niggers. Now you
Hmm.
have people that have been named niggers making other niggers. In other words, it's reproducing itself without white people even saying it. So what am I
Hmm.
saying? I'm
Hmm.
saying that this coming together thing, it has to be of like-minded individuals. That's how you get
Absolutely.
infiltrated. When you just bringing black people together because they black, you got somebody there working for the very people you're talking about to destroy us at all times 24/7.
Absolutely.
That is a fact. So therefore,
Absolutely.
you don't you get like-minded people together with, and we if we how we know we like-minded, whether I'm hanging around you or not, we have a certain code that we go by. We live by a code. So when we
Hmm.
come together, we operate as individuals. So that individual has a code. So we come together on that code because we're like-minded. Otherwise, just a
Absolutely.
bunch of black people together. You got people wearing dashikis and dreadlocks that'll sell you crack. I mean, so
Absolutely.
we
Yeah,
know
no doubt.
that ain't it. That ain't it. I mean, I can have on a Beatles and Rolling Stone T-shirt and be more and have done more through my actions to uplift black people than the person that's got the black power fist with the African continent earring and the dreadlocks down his back. So it's kind of a misnomer if we're going on the actual appearances of what blackness is. Are we going on because somebody throws up the? It's got to be like-mindedness, and I think like how
Absolutely.
you and I are.
Yeah.
That's the only way, bro.
And we know
I mean,
others.
because
You see. And see, and
yeah, because
the thing
yes,
is,
sir.
Brother Ron, we'll know who's who with the like mindedness by actions, not by words. Anybody can say
True,
anything. But when you know a
true.
person, like take you for instance, brother, I've been knowing you for 30 something years. I don't even know the number, but I know more than 30. You see what I'm saying? I know some other people in this city I've been knowing for 30 years. And see, I
Yes,
know
sir.
some people like us, we know we could believe when it comes to this black love thing. You see what I'm saying? Our
Right.
personal life
Yes, sir.
outside this is whatever it is, but I'm talking about, like you said, like minded black people that's loving black people. You know some, I
Right.
know some, and they know some greatly. It doesn't take the majority of us to make life better for the majority of us, and that's a blessing. Say, on that note, man, why don't you come
Right.
back every third Sunday? Why don't you do that? Come every third Sunday, man. Talk about, because I know you have a
Sure.
vast of knowledge.
Uh,
Yeah,
I'm honored and I'm flattered. And in the words of Fela Kuti, uh, them black men, why didn't suffer? You know. So,
mm,
hey, man, I love to do that, man. I
that'd be
mean,
great.
I come with different information on
That's the
different
thing,
topics.
man.
We can go across the
Yeah,
globe. Or
yeah, because
we
man,
if it's black,
this is
we
the
talk
thing,
about
brother.
the black Latino thing next time or something. Because
Okay,
a lot
yeah.
of our people, man, a lot of our people don't understand that when you talk about black Americans or you talk about American, you also talking about Afro Latinos. Because technically, if I'm black and I live in Cuba,
Mhm.
Venezuela, Colombia, Puerto Rico, and I'm of African descent, technically I'm still African American, because I live in the Americas. So if I'm Afro Brazilian, I still live in the Americas. So technically I'm still African American. Maybe not a black United Stateser, because I'm an
Mhm.
Afro United Stateser, because I live in
Mhm.
the United States. But the brother that a sister that lives in the parts of the Caribbean, the Jamaicas and the Belize and Central America, places such
Right.
as that. They still technically we all connected.
Yeah, and
And
that's
like
interesting.
you said something, huh?
I was thinking that's
So
interesting you
that
mentioned that because that's interesting you mentioned that because I know you love John Henry Clark just like I do. But I saw a
yeah,
video with John Henry Clark speaking, and he was speaking about
sure.
the fact he was when he first started his mission to learn about our Black history, okay, of the world. So it was
Yes, sir.
interesting that he went to this one brother to ask him about our history, and that brother told him, say, go find about their history, come back to me, then I'll tell you. But what was interesting to me, that brother was a Puerto Rican. And I'm like, John Henry
Yes.
Clark went to this brother, that this Puerto Rican brother, and this brother was in high esteem, even in the eyes of John Henry Clark. And you know, he was a bad brother. I'm gonna have to look at that video again and see what that Puerto Rican brother's name was. And this brother was where our beloved brother Clark went to because he knew this Puerto Rican knew much more than he knew. You see, so yeah, as you talk about the Latino Black connection, man, that's some real talk for
Right.
sure. So that's gonna be
You
sweet.
you talking about you talking I think you're talking about a brother by the name of Arturo Stromberg. Arturo
Could be.
Stromberg.
I don't know, but I'm gonna
Stromberg,
research it
he
because
was at the Smithsonian.
and
I
he's
think he
definitely
was
Puerto
at the
Rican,
Smithsonian.
correct? Is he
Yeah,
Puerto Rican?
Afro Rican. Yes, sir,
Yeah, and
Afro
this
Rican.
brother, he obviously knew
Being
the
born in
histories
Puerto
of
Rico.
both people. So yeah,
Yes,
man,
sir.
we got some great history.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Arturo Stromberg. I believe you're talking about Stromberg.
Yeah, that
He
sounds
had
familiar. That
vast
last name.
access to very
Yeah, so he was a
Stromberg.
heavy brother, heavy. It's heavy. And
Yeah,
everybody
very
come
heavy.
from us anyway, but it's interesting when you look at history at one point, and man, it's great to learn always, no matter our ages. Because I'm just not long ago hearing to talk about races wasn't even a talk of races as far as RACS, plurally. It was
Yeah.
just people.
Yes, sir.
And there was a fella they said came up with this concept of having races, and then they'll say, okay, but we'll be the premier race, which was the Caucasian, and that's where they got the concept of
Right.
white supremacy through race. And that was interesting.
Right.
I mean, I just found this out like less than a year ago. You know, so it's so much information and knowledge, and we need to keep informing our people so when they get the proper information, I think they'll more and more do the proper things. I really believe that. You know, so we
Well,
just keep doing what we can.
Neil Painter, it's interesting you say what you said because Neil Painter, she has a book called How White People Were Created.
Mhm.
uh, uh,
Well,
and
you,
it's
I'm
I got
sure.
I, I'm going to
I'm
say that's the
sure.
name of it. Who created white people are, and that it talks about that guy and these
Okay.
five or six white guys that got together and created this racial dynamic. Yeah,
Concept.
yeah. That
Right,
I
right,
mean, it's
right.
but that's another subject. Hip
Absolutely,
hop.
absolutely.
What I'm trying. I mean, if you want to hear this as a hip hop record, I want you to hear when you get a chance.
Okay.
It's called "Nature of the Threat." You ever heard "Nature of the Threat" by
Not to my knowledge.
Razkaz?
Nature of the
Check out
threat.
this song. He's a hip hop artist from California. He did an
Mhm.
album called Soul on Ice, named after the infamous book by Eldridge Cleaver of the Black Panther Party.
Absolutely. I
Soul
read
on
that.
Ice.
I
Yeah.
read that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, Razkaz has a great one of the best hip hop albums ever made, in my opinion, in terms of the
Okay.
conceptuality, in terms of
Right.
the knowledge that's being given, in terms of the just the flow and everything. It's just really a great album, and it's called Soul on Ice. Razkaz, Raskass. He's from LA, but he doesn't rap
Right.
like a California rapper. But he has
Is
a
this an
song called
old
Nature of
song?
the Threat. Yeah, it's old. This came out in like
Okay.
1995, 96, maybe 92. It's old, man. 93.
I'm sure I'm gonna
Somewhere
check it
I've
out.
been having it. I got a new cassette.
Okay.
Anyway, when you get the chance, please listen. He gives you a history lesson. The
Okay.
song is called Nature of the Threat. And
Nature of the
when
threat.
you
I'm gonna
sit
check it
there,
out.
he just walks you through the history
Mm.
of, of, of black people and their relationship with white people.
Okay.
It's a great hip hop track. It's over a lot of times. I mean, I just recommend that to everybody. Check out
I'm looking
Nature and
forward
Threat by
to it.
Razcat.
I'm
Another
definitely going to do
another
that.
Afro Latino brother, another Afro Latino brother you should check out. He's really from Peru, but
Mhm.
he grew up in New York. His name is Immortal Technique. Are you familiar with him?
Never heard of them. Mm-mm.
Okay,
Never
Immortal
have.
Technique uses the N word figuratively. Razcat uses the word figuratively, but you get through that because you get where they're coming from. Because they give you layers of thought provocation, of
Right.
thought productivity.
Hmm.
You'll see what I mean. But I
Okay.
would
Yeah.
recommend Immortal Technique. These are people you never gonna hear on the radio.
Okay.
Never.
Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
I have access to you, and I can always say, brother, who was that you said? And I'm gonna look them up for sure. I
Oh man,
appreciate you
just
coming on, man.
yeah. I mean, I appreciate you having me, man. And
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
said, like you said, the third, whenever you want to have me on here a month, I'll come with
Yeah.
some. I
That's,
promise to give the people something to make them think, not
oh,
think. Promise.
and I know you have a wealth of knowledge. There's no question or doubt about that. I'm certain of it. So I appreciate you, brother. We love you much,
Thank you.
and
Much gratitude.
look for the next time. And you stay strong,
You
black
too, brother.
beautiful
Thank you
people.
for having me. Peace and
All
blessings.
right,
Thank
absolutely,
you.
brother.
Like,
Oh, beautiful black people, I tell you. So I look forward to every show that we're going to have. And the next one is going to be as good as this one, I hope. And black beautiful people, we keep loving each other. And that's all we have to do. Come together, show our love, use our love, and tell each other that we love. Wow, wow, wow. I love my people. Wow, black people. Say it with me now. I love my people. Beautiful black people. I love my people. I love my people. Black people.